It was supposed to be harmless to humans and animals, the perfect weed killer. Monsanto's Roundup herbicide. The main ingredient, glyphosate. Glyphosate has a direct correlation with the rising numbers of chronic diseases and illnesses. Genetically modified foods are everywhere in today's day and age. As a food source, these are good because they're resistant to herbicides and drought, as well as extreme cold and insecticides. The world practically revolves around GMOs, genetically modified organisms. We live, breathe, and drink genetically modified foods. Without GMOs, the entire world could starve and become really sick. GMOs have been saving people money, and they are going to be properly labeled in 2018. GMOs increase the number of chronic illnesses because of glyphosate, the main ingredient of the herbicides. The consumption of plants is directly correlated with the number of rising chronic illnesses. According to the CDC, 100 people have died because of these foods. Also, the CDC has reported 5,000 became sick or disabled. Monsanto, the seed giant, is one of the first companies to put out genetically modified seeds on the market. These seeds will do us good for the sheer fact of food and feeding the entire world. But the fact of the matter is, food will only become more and more expensive, causing more and more people to go hungry. Then they will eventually die from starvation. Some illnesses that are caused by GMOs are gastrointestinal disorders, autism, heart disease, and other diseases of the sort. These are naturally occurring diseases anyways, so in my opinion, we don't really need anything else in this world to help increase the chances of it. Next, I will tell you about the origins of genetically modified organisms. Genetically modifying foods and organisms have been in existence for thousands of years. When a man domesticated the animal, they bred animals for desired traits. For example, we have dogs that were bred to be hunters. Another example is horses that could pull 3 times the amount of a regular horse. So genetically modified foods and animals is not a new thing. It has been around for a very long time. Next, in the early 1980s, scientists found that 1 out of 20 different bacteria did not break down. So therefore, scientists attempted to put these traits into plants. So they were in a race to complete for the first genetically modified foods since then. The first plant to be put on the market was the Flavor Saver tomato in 1996. In 1996, also, Monsanto was proudly putting genetically modified soybeans on the market. Nowadays, we have genetically modified salmon and other species of fish. I mean, just name anything and they probably have it genetically modified. What's next for the GMO products? When will it happen? Will they genetically modify humans for the cannibals? I don't know. Another problem with genetically modified foods, the environmental dangers. Does growing certain genetically modified crops compromise the biodiversity? Yes, in fact it does. Because plants will not purely be one or the other. And the other crappy part is, you will never know. The chances of cross-pollination greatly increase when you have a field of genetically modified crops next to yours. It is conceivable that herbicide tolerance in a GM crop could make its way into other plants. This makes for weeds that are even more difficult for farmers to manage, and that means farmers have to spend more money on killing the weeds. But these plants are better off because of genetic engineering. It has given plants a new way to defend themselves. But when a corn borer caterpillar starts feeding on BT maize, the caterpillars soon die off spraying the crop from damage of one of its worst pests. BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis. It's soil bacterium that produces insecticidal toxins. Genes from the BT can be inserted into crop plants, making them capable of producing insecticidal toxins, therefore resistant to certain pests. There is no known adverse human effects associated with BT corn. BT corn can be adversely affect non-target insects if they are closely related to the target pest, as the case with the monarch butterfly. These adverse effects are considered minor and relative to those with the alternative blanket insecticide applications. Now that I have the problem, let's look at a solution to genetically modifying foods. According to the Non-GMO Project, we need to educate the public to inform them about genetically modified foods. GMOs, or genetically modified organisms, are plants or animals that have been genetically modified with DNA from bacteria, viruses, or other animals and plants. These experimental combinations of genes from different species cannot occur in nature or traditional crossbreeding. Virtually all commercial GMOs are engineered to withstand direct application of herbicide or any other industrial insecticide. Despite biotechnology, the biotech industry promises none of the GMO traits are currently on the market offer increased yield to drought tolerance, enhances nutrition, or other consumer benefit. Meanwhile, a growing body of evidence connects GMOs with health problems, environmental dangers, and violation of farmer and consumer rights. Another thing we need to do is better label the products that are genetically modified. Unfortunately, even those polls consistently show that a significant majority of Americans want to know if their food has been genetically modified. The powerful biotech lobby has been succeeded in keeping this information from the public. The absence of a mandatory labeling, the Non-GMO Project was created to give consumers the informed choice they deserve. Now I'm going to explain how GMOs affect farmers. Because GMOs are novel life forms, biotechnology companies have been able to obtain patents with which they restrict their use. As a result, these companies that make GMOs now have power to sue farmers whose fields are contaminated with GMOs, even though when it's a result of inevitable drift from the neighboring fields. GMOs therefore pose a serious threat to farmer sovereignty and the national food security of any country where they are grown, including the United States. Another solution to the problem is we can plant organic gardens. Planting an indoor garden to decrease the risk of cross-contamination, unless you want your garden to be cross-contaminated with genetically altered plants. But considering the serious health risks that are usually with GMOs, it's not a very good idea. Do not use anything in your garden that can build up resistance in plants. The minute you use herbicide or pesticide, your plants can build up resistance to them and make them able to reproduce the gene of their resistance, and therefore making them genetically modified. Another thing you should do is that you should be trying to eat more organic foods, both to decrease the amount of pesticides you and your family consume, and to help protect the environment from overloading with toxic chemicals. But organics can be a bit expensive, we know. Luckily, there are ways to grow your own delicious food produce while having fun and learning at the same time organic gardening. Don't know where to start? It's possible to hire someone to install a garden and maintain it for you. But most of us can just roll up our sleeves and grow our own. Don't worry if things aren't perfect right away, because organic gardening means you won't use synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, but that doesn't mean your plants are left to fend for themselves. There's an array of tools that you can use to bolster plant health and ward off pests. Organic gardening also isn't just about what you don't do, it's about trying to foster a more holistic and relaxing lifestyle. To conclude, genetically modified foods can help save the world, but they have many risk factors and health issues involved with them. Okay, any questions? Yes?
Do you know why it's so expensive for the organic food?
Because as of now, we have everything's genetically modified, so it's like genetically modified foods are just cheaper because we can just mass produce them basically. And organics, we have to grow them, so you have to buy the seed, and then in the cities you have to pay for water. So, any other questions? Yes, Josh?
Is there an organic farm around?
I don't know because I didn't really research around the area, so I don't know. I could definitely look into it though.
All right, thank you.